The evening sky was painted in strokes of amber and violet as the city lights began to flicker awake. In the heart of downtown, the grand glass doors of L'Etoile shimmered like a portal to another world. A world where elegance and wealth danced together under golden chandeliers. Ethan paused outside, his reflection staring back at him from the glass. He tugged nervously at the collar of his faded blue shirt, freshly ironed, though the fabric still bore faint traces of his working life. A thin scar ran across his right hand, a small reminder of the engines he spent his days repairing. He was a mechanic, a good one, but he was also a man who hadn't been on a date in years. Tonight, his friend Jake had set him up on a blind date with a woman named Clara. "She's kind, beautiful, and not the type to judge," Jake had said over the phone. Ethan had laughed, brushing it off. "Then she's definitely too good for me." But deep down, he hoped maybe she wasn't. Maybe, just this once, something good would happen to him. He took a deep breath, straightened his shoulders, and stepped inside. The moment he entered, the scent of expensive perfume and roasted duck hit him. Crystal glasses sparkled. Waiters in pressed black suits glided gracefully between tables. The clinking of silverware and the soft hum of a violin trio made the room feel alive, like a painting in motion. Ethan immediately felt out of place. He could fix an engine blindfolded, but right now he could barely remember how to breathe. He looked around for any woman sitting alone. The message said table near the window. His gaze swept across the restaurant until it landed on her. A woman with chestnut brown hair sitting near the window, her posture elegant, her gaze distant. She was dressed in a soft cream-colored dress that shimmered under the candlelight. A delicate silk scarf wrapped around her neck, and beside her chair was a sleek, silver wheelchair. Subtle but visible. Ethan's stomach tightened. Jake hadn't mentioned anything about that, but she was alone, and beautiful. And looking at him now, curious, slightly puzzled, but not unkind. He hesitated for a moment at the edge of her table, unsure if he should say something. Then she smiled faintly, and that was all the courage he needed. "Clara," he asked, his voice hesitant but gentle. The woman blinked, surprise flickering in her eyes. "Oh, yes," she said slowly, then smiled again. "And you must be Daniel?" Ethan froze. Daniel. That wasn't his name, but his heart thumped so hard in his chest he couldn't find the strength to correct her. He could have explained, could have said, "Sorry, I think there's been a mistake." But for some reason, he didn't want the moment to end. So he nodded awkwardly. "Yeah, Daniel, sorry I'm late." Her smile widened, soft and warm. "You're not late at all. Please sit." He sat down, trying to steady his nerves. The table was covered in fine white linen, 2 glasses of water already waiting, and a candle burning in the center. The light flickered between them, gentle and golden. "I was beginning to think you'd changed your mind," she said, a teasing tone in her voice. "Almost did," he admitted with a nervous laugh. "I wasn't sure I'd fit in here." She tilted her head. "You mean this place?" He nodded, glancing around. "Yeah, I'm more of a burger and fries kind of guy. Not sure I even know how to pronounce half the things on the menu." Her laughter was soft but real, and it calmed him instantly. "Then I'll help you," she said. "We'll survive the menu together." Ethan found himself smiling, genuinely smiling, for the first time in a long while. As the evening went on, their conversation flowed effortlessly. She told him her name was Elena, though everyone called her Clara after her grandmother. She spoke about her love for music, about how she used to play the piano in the grand hall of her family's estate before an accident 2 years ago had left her unable to walk. He listened intently, not out of pity, but admiration. Her voice carried both fragility and strength, and every word drew him closer. When she paused, she asked about him. "What about you, Daniel? What do you do?" He hesitated, his mind scrambling. He didn't want to lie, but the truth felt too small compared to her world. "I work with cars," he said finally. "Engines mostly. Fixing things that are broken." Her eyes lit up. "That's wonderful." He looked up, startled. "You think so?" "Of course. There's something beautiful about fixing what others think can't be repaired." She smiled softly. "Not everyone can do that." Her words settled in his chest like a quiet warmth. For years, people had dismissed his job. Just a mechanic, just grease and bolts. But here she was, looking at him as though what he did mattered. He noticed her fingers tracing the rim of her glass, delicate hands, elegant and pale. "Do you still play?" he asked gently. Her eyes dimmed for a moment. "Not anymore," she whispered. "My hands are fine, but my spirit, it hasn't been." Ethan didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. Maybe one day it will be again. For a moment, their eyes met, his raw with sincerity, hers glimmering with emotion. Dinner arrived, something he couldn't pronounce but tasted incredible. They talked about books, about childhood dreams, about how she loved thunderstorms, because they reminded her that beauty could be loud. And as the world outside faded into night, Ethan forgot completely that this wasn't his date. He forgot the name mix-up, the awkward start, the wrinkled shirt. All that mattered was the woman in front of him, her laughter, her stories, her soul. Hours passed like minutes. When the waiter finally placed the bill on the table, Ethan's heart sank. He reached for his pocket, knowing he didn't have enough. He had saved what little he could, but this place was far beyond his budget. Before he could even open his mouth, she gently placed her hand on his. "Don't worry, Daniel," she said softly. "This one's on me. You've already given me something far more valuable than dinner." He looked up, confused. "What's that?" "A real conversation," she smiled wistfully. "Most people talk to me like I'm broken." "You didn't." The words hit him deep. As she smiled, guilt twisted inside him. He wasn't Daniel. He wasn't the man she was supposed to meet. But he also couldn't deny what he felt. Something rare, something real. When they said goodbye, she extended her hand. "I hope we meet again, Daniel." Ethan shook it gently, his heart heavy and full all at once. As he walked out of L'Etoile, the night air cool against his skin, he knew two things for certain. He had sat at the wrong table, but maybe, just maybe, he had found the right person. The next morning, the city stirred awake beneath a pale, sleepy sun. Ethan hadn't slept a wink. All night, he replayed the evening in his mind. Her laughter, her gentle eyes, the way she made him forget who he wasn't. Every time he remembered her saying, "You've given me something valuable tonight," a pang of guilt cut deeper. He couldn't keep pretending. She deserved the truth. By noon, he found himself standing again in front of L'Etoile, his heart thudding like a nervous drumbeat. His hands were stained with a touch of grease. He had come straight from the garage. It felt almost symbolic, one world still clinging to him while he tried to step into another. Inside, the restaurant was quieter than before. Sunlight spilled through tall windows, pooling like melted gold on the floor. A waiter recognized him and approached. "Excuse me, sir," Ethan asked nervously. "Was there a lady here last night?" "Brown hair, silk scarf." "Wheelchair," the waiter nodded. "Miss Moreau." "She's here now, actually. Same table." The name hit him like a spark. Moreau. He knew that name. Everyone did. Moreau Motors, the luxury car company whose advertisements painted every billboard in the city. His steps slowed as he walked toward the window. She was there just as before, hair flowing softly over her shoulder, the sunlight catching in her eyes as she read a book. When she looked up and saw him, surprise lit her face. Then a smile bloomed. Warm, genuine. "Daniel!" "You came back," she said, setting the book aside. Ethan stopped a few feet away, guilt weighing heavy on his shoulders. "Actually," he began, voice trembling slightly, "my name's not Daniel." Her expression faltered. "What?" I sat at the wrong table last night. My name's Ethan. I'm not the man you were supposed to meet." For a moment, silence hung between them, fragile and tense. The clinking of dishes and distant murmurs of other diners felt miles away. He swallowed hard and continued. "I was supposed to meet someone else. A blind date. I got the table wrong. And when you smiled at me, I didn't want to embarrass you. Or myself. I thought I'd explain later, but then you started talking, and it felt like I'd known you forever." Her eyes softened, but her lips stayed pressed in thought. "So last night, It was all a mistake? He nodded slowly. Yes, but it didn't feel like one. Her gaze drifted toward the window, the sunlight catching the faint shimmer of her scarf. When she finally spoke, her voice was quiet but steady. I should be angry, she said, but I'm not. Ethan blinked. You're not? No. She turned back to him, her expression tender. Because my real date never showed up. He froze. He's a family acquaintance, she continued. Another businessman who sees me as a connection, not a person. They all talk to me about profits, about investments, about how tragic it is that I'm confined to this chair. But you, she smiled faintly, you talk to me like I was just a woman at dinner. He exhaled shakily, relief flooding through him. I didn't mean to deceive you. I just didn't want the night to end. Then don't let it end, she said softly. Sit down. He did, unsure whether to smile or cry. For a few moments they just looked at each other, the air between them thick with unspoken truths. Finally she broke the silence. You said you're a mechanic? He nodded. Yeah, been fixing cars since I was 16. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. A hint of a smile curved her lips. That's ironic. What do you mean? I'm the heiress to Moreau Motors. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Ethan's jaw fell open. You're that Moreau? She chuckled softly at his expression. Yes, my father owns the company. Or rather, he did. He's been ill lately. I've been taking over slowly. Ethan could barely process it. The woman he'd mistaken for a simple date was part of one of the most powerful families in the country. And yet, she sat there with the same grace and humility as before. No trace of arrogance, no superiority. Guess I picked the wrong table in the wrong class, he said with a half smile. She laughed quietly, shaking her head. Maybe you picked the right heart. Her words lingered between them, soft and sincere. Then she grew thoughtful. You said last night that fixing things makes you happy, that you like bringing broken things back to life. He nodded. Yeah, there's something peaceful about it. You take something that's not working and you give it another chance. She looked down at her wheelchair for a moment, her fingers tightening slightly around the armrest. Maybe that's why I like talking to you so much, she said softly. Because you make broken things feel fixable. He didn't know what to say, so he just smiled. Small, genuine, a little shy. Then she looked up again, her eyes bright with an idea. Ethan, what if we built something together? He blinked. Built what? A workshop, she said, her tone growing alive. A place where you train and hire underprivileged mechanics. People like you once were. And maybe we can fund it through my family's foundation. I've been trying to do something meaningful for years, not just business for profit. Ethan's breath caught. You'd really do that? She nodded, her eyes gleaming. Yes, you gave me hope last night, that I'm still more than this chair, more than a name. Maybe together we can give others the same feeling. Ethan sat there, speechless. He'd come to confess a mistake, and now she was offering him a future he never dreamed of. He looked at her, really looked, not as an heiress, not as someone fragile, but as a woman who carried quiet strength beneath her smile. You know, he said finally, when I walked into this restaurant, I thought I was sitting at the wrong table. But now, I think it was the only one meant for me. Her eyes softened. Maybe fate doesn't make mistakes after all. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The world outside moved on. Cars passing, people walking. But at that window table, time seemed to stand still. She reached across the table, her hand trembling slightly, and placed it over his. Let's fix the world a little, Ethan, she whispered. One broken piece at a time. He smiled, his heart full. Together. As the light shifted and the violinist began to play softly in the background, two souls, a poor mechanic and a paralyzed heiress, sat across from each other, bound by something purer than coincidence. From a wrong table to the right destiny, from a mistake to a miracle. And in that golden afternoon glow, Ethan realized something profound. Sometimes the universe doesn't misplace you. It simply redirects you, to the table where your life is meant to change forever.